Good morning, students. We are going to talk about cell biology, and this is the introduction about cell biology. We're just going to keep it pretty much basic in terms of some of the features, characteristics, and functionalities of cells. We know that every living thing are composed of cells. Either multicellular organism, meaning like say human beings, plants, trees, dolphins, bears, mushrooms, composed of many cells, or a unicellular organism. Of course, the prefix uni means one, so made up of just want to say like one cell, like an amoeba, like paramecium, like bacteria cells. So, as we continue, we look at the term cell. And so the term cell here, it is defined as the smallest, most basic unit of life. All right, so we have eukaryotic cells. So eukaryotes actually can be unicellular, like I said, one cell, or multicellular. Okay, so again, unicellular can be like an amoeba, euglena, paramecium, just one cell that can live by itself, basically like in soil or in water, anything like that. Whereas multicellular organisms, basically, again, like I said, human beings, trees, animals, and so on and so forth. Eukaryote simply means true nucleus, so they have a nucleus there, and the nucleus, that's where they have the genetic material, or in other words, the DNA. That's where you'll find the DNA in the eukaryotes. Membrane-bound organelles, that simply means that the organelles, and I'll talk about organelles here in a second. Well, I guess I'll talk about now. Organelle simply means tiny organs. So just like we have organs in our body that actually has a specific function to keep us alive, cells have organs as well. But those organs are called organelles. And each organelle has a particular function to keep the cell alive and going. And then also eukaryotes simply are larger in size compared to prokaryotes. They can be maybe 20, 30, 40, 50 times the size of a prokaryote. Again, prokaryotes here basically are bacteria. So in other words, when you talk about prokaryotes, we're talking about bacteria. Basically, they're synonymous. So again, as I said here, prokaryotes are bacteria. So bacteria, unicellular, they lack a nucleus. They still have DNA. Okay, so they still have DNA. All living things have DNA, so they still have DNA, but they do not have the, I guess, the housing or the compartment where DNA is housed. Say like where a eukaryote has the DNA is housed in the nucleus. No membrane-bound organelles, and they tend to be smaller, much smaller in size compared to eukaryotes. Okay, so like I said, organelles simply means tiny organs. They're small, mostly membrane-bound structures inside of cells. So organelles, again, are defined as tiny organs or little organs. All right, so this is a classic animal cell. And all these that you see here, okay, they're organelles. Each organelle has its particular function to keep the cell alive, just like each organ in our body has function to keep the cell alive. So of course, this is the nucleus. This is where you find all the genetic material, the DNA, all that good stuff. Okay. Here you have the lysosomes. The lysosome kind of serves like as the stomach of the cell. So when the cell eats, things go to the lysosome and it's just digested and gobbled up. The mitochondria, you may remember this back in, when you're taking high school biology, mitochondria, we call this the powerhouse of the cell. This is basically the organelle that makes a whole lot of energy, okay, that we use, that the cell uses to survive. And of course, the cell has to survive in order for us to survive. Then you have the Golgi complex that's used to basically package and modify proteins. You have the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. Again, we call it the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. One more time, the plasma membrane or the cell membrane. They are synonymous. That's just like the outer portion of the cell. And he serves as a gatekeeper to allow certain things inside the cell, and he serves as a gatekeeper to allow certain things to go outside of the cell. All right, so that's kind of like the skin. If you think of an orange, like that's the orange peel or the apple peel. All right. So a cell is very, very, very complex, very elegant. My gosh, it's a masterpiece. And just to kind of give you perspective, how you see 2 mitochondria here. All right, I mean, a cell can have probably anywhere from, I don't know, 500 to 1500 mitochondria. So I don't want you to think that, oh gosh, I only have 2. No, we have, gosh, I mean, hundreds, maybe even thousands of mitochondria there, right? For energy. And in fact, certain cells will have more mitochondria than others. For instance, muscle cells will have more mitochondria, say, than bone cells, because muscle cells need more energy to carry out its biological functions. All right, this is just a picture of plant cell. I'm not going to get too much into it there, but plant cells, they have organelles as well. One thing plant cells have that animal cells that I just showed in the previous slide does not have is a very defined wall. And that wall is simply just the cell wall. It's a cell wall. It's a pretty firm structure that keeps everything inside. And then it also has this thing called a vacuole. Animal cells have a vacuole as well, but the plant cells have a larger vacuole. All right, so this is just simply just showing the similarities that a animal cell has with a plant cell. So there are more similarities between the two than you'll find differences. All right, so again, like I said, the nucleus, that's just basically where it contains the DNA. Of course, plant cells and animal cells have a nucleus. The nucleolus, that's just the inside part of the nucleus, where you have basically RNA synthesis. Synthesis simply is just a nice fancy word, just talking about to make. So don't really worry about the RNA part there. Cell membrane, again, like I said, this is the skin. This is the apple peel, the orange peel of the cell. And then you have things that can that permeates through there to go inside the cell, things that leave the cell. And then there are larger size molecules that cannot just go through the plasma membrane. Say like oxygen can just go readily through. Carbon dioxide can go readily through there, but those are small molecules. But for larger molecules, say like glucose, those things are just a lot larger. Their chemical structure is C6H12O6. So they're too large to go through the plasma membrane, so they have to go through these channels here. But again, plasma membrane, or again, cell membrane. Again, they're synonymous. Plasma membrane or cell membrane, they're synonymous. They help to regulate the things that go in and outside of the cell. Okay, so again, it's another picture there. All right, again, some more organelles. The endoplasmic reticulum, we just in short call it the ER, series of folded membranes that actually play a role in terms of the production of proteins and moving the proteins around, and then also in terms of the storage of lipids, and just again, like I said, simply just organelles just to keep the cell going and alive. Golgi apparatus, again, this packaging and modifying of proteins. So when proteins are actually made, they're shipped to the Golgi apparatus or the Golgi complex. So this is kind of like a Q&A, a quality control, QC, quality control organelle to make sure that the proteins are the best proteins before those proteins are shipped out of the cell, or sometimes those proteins will stay inside the cell to actually do some more work inside the cell. Okay, so that's just an animation of that there. Okay. All right, lysosomes, like I said, it's the stomach of the cell. Helps to has strong digestive enzymes or anything to break down food particles for the cells, to break it down, and for the cell to use it for its survival process. Ribosomes, basically a structure. Now the ribosome does not have a membrane around it there, but a structure where that proteins are actually made. Cytoskeleton, just like we have a skeletal system in our bodies, the cell has a skeletal system to give it shape, to give it definition, shape, structure, and help it with its movement with particular certain type of cells there. So again, the cytoskeletons helps the cell with its shape and structure. Again, here we go in, powerhouse of the cell, mitochondria. All right, energy production. Cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is just simply the portion that's outside of the nucleus. Sorry about that, Bell. Outside the nucleus, but inside the cell membrane. Okay, so this light green area here will be known as the cytoplasm.